Frequently, the leaders we recall most vividly are those who motivate us to take action, improve ourselves, and create a meaningful impact. What's more, a study by Bain and Company, which identified 33 characteristics of inspirational leaders, revealed that employees who feel inspired exhibit twice the productivity of those who are merely satisfied. Now, let's have ourselves a pocket sized pep talk because when leaders are deeply inspired, they inspire those they lead. And when that happens, everybody wins. The question is, how do we inspire those leaders?
A Pocket Size Pep Talk, the podcast that can help energize your business and your life with a quick, inspiring message. Now, here's your host, Rob Jollis.
Today's guest, Yossi Amram, PhD, is a licensed clinical psychologist, a CEO leadership coach, and an award-winning author. Previously the founder and CEO of two companies that he's led through successful IPOs, Yossi has coached over 100 CEOs, many of whom have built companies with thousands of employees and revenues in the billions. With engineering degrees from MIT and MBA from Harvard and a PhD in psychology from Sophia University, he's a pioneering researcher in the field of spiritual intelligence, whose research has received over 1,000 citations. As the author of the Nautilus Book Award gold medal winning Spiritually Intelligent Leadership, How to Inspire by Being Inspired, Yossi is committed awakening greater spiritual intelligence in himself and the world. Happy to have you with us and welcome to the show, Yossi.
Thank you, Rob. I'm delighted. You've said it all. I can go home now.
I lost 3 pounds in that bio. You got to know that. That's some bio you got there. Pleasure to have you here. I want to dive right in. And, here's what I thought we'd start with. I sort of teased the fact that, to inspire the employees, we have to inspire those leaders. That's almost like saying to play good golf, you got to hit the ball 300 yards. Give me a quick elevator pitch on how we're going to focus those leaders, inspire the leaders. I get the people. Give me the leader part.
Yeah, well, as you said, you got to be inspired to inspire others, and that's fundamental when you think about leaders. One of my first Harvard Business School cases was managers and leaders. Are they the same or different? And managers are important. What they do is they manage resources that are scarce, make decisions, but leaders inspire. And what is the root word of inspire? It's spirit, which comes from Latin, the animating breath of life. So how do we get the leaders inspired? We get them to connect with their essence, their life force, their spirit. And when we're connected to our spirit as leaders and we uncover our unique gifts that life has gifted us, and we find our purpose and we align that our personal purpose with the organizational mission and purpose, then we can come into full expression ourselves, and we express our potential, our zone of genius, which is inherently fulfilling. We're naturally good at it, and it's the greatest contribution. And then we have a vision, we have a sense of purpose, our life force is pulsating through us, and then we're vibrating at this high energy which draws others to us that are aligned with that vision and that mission and that purpose. So, in a nutshell, that would be the essence of it.
All right. Well, I want to open up the nutshell a little further. How you like that? I got it, but a lot of words there, the essence and the spiritual. I'm an ex-Xerox guy. I don't know if you know this. And, everything with us was a process. You tie your shoe. Here's the 3 steps to how to tie a shoe. You want to sell a copier? We'll sell a copier. I don't expect it to be, do these 3 things and you're now spiritually awakened. But give me something that a listener right now who's walking the dog could say, just one thought that maybe they're leading a team right now, something it's tangible that they could do that would act on what you just said.
Well, I'd say a couple of things. One is practice gratitude. It would improve your mood. We have all the research that if we practice gratitude daily, our mood, our happiness increases. And we also know that when we then express that gratitude to others, they feel motivated and creates a positive feedback loop. So that'd be one. Secondly, I talked a little bit about purpose. So
Right.
discovering our purpose. And that's when we can discover the convergence between what we're good at, what we enjoy, and what the world needs. I mean, people call it the ikigai now, and it's that zone where there's that convergence. So I would ask every person to say, what are the unique gifts that life has given me? And besides the gift of life itself, which is the biggest gift, but we've each been granted with a unique set of talents, superpowers, and so on. And when we actualize and express them, we're naturally fulfilled and we're in our zone of genius and we're contributing. So to reflect on what am I good at? What do I enjoy? And then how can that come into alignment with my job, my work, the purpose of the business unit, the organization, the nonprofit, whatever it is that I'm in. So, I coach CEOs, etc., but the same principle applies at any level. You could be the lead mechanic in an airline in one of the airports, and your zone of genius is craftsmanship, and your jollies is how you work with your hands and you like to fix things. Now, if you could then find the alignment between that and the purpose and the mission of the airline, which is to have on-time departure and have safe travel, then you could bring into alignment your gifts as the lead mechanic and what that organization is trying to do. Now, someone else in finance, in accounting, in that same airline, their zone of genius and talent is around numbers and details, and they want to empower the management, the organization to optimize their routes, to optimize their pricing. So again, at any level, we want to find what are my gifts and talents, and how can I bring them into expression to contribute to the bigger organism I'm a part of. Much like in our human body,
Right.
we have different cells. They all come from the same DNA, same stem cell, but they differentiate. And so one cell is in our retina, and another is in our thyroid, and another is in our kidneys. And they each have their cell membrane. It has to keep its integrity, but it participates as part of an organ, part of a team, which then has to function in harmony with the rest of the organism so that the organism is healthy and then everything works in harmony.
Got it. Okay. I think I got it. I shouldn't say I got it. I pretty much got it. You are a very interesting man, I have to tell you. I want to, but I'm going. My job today is to simplify. I'm the other side of your brain right now, okay?
Okay.
And I'm going to simplify a little bit. So I hear you. But it almost sounds, Yossi, like I need a staff therapist. A matter of fact, I don't think that's a terrible thing. My daughter happens to be a nutritionist, and she works for a corporation. We'll leave all that out, but that actually has realized, if we get our people to eat more intelligently, this role of nutritionist within the company will pay for itself over and over again. They're getting the message. It sounds to me like we should almost have another office where we have a therapist. They can climb into some of this. This is deep.
Yeah, well, you can call them a therapist. But they could just be a spiritually intelligent leadership coach.
Mm.
So you can have companies that they have their HR department, they have their internal coaching for leadership, and I'm proposing a framework for leadership effectiveness. And so in my doctoral research, and we all know, everybody talks about emotional intelligence. That has entered the zeitgeist, and everybody agrees, oh yeah, emotional intelligence is good, and we make better leaders who are emotionally intelligent, better human beings, etc. But up until 1990, when the concept was first put together, we used to think that emotion and reason are in dichotomy. If I said, do you know people in your life that are emotional? You'd think, oh, these dramatic people and they're dysregulated, and that's necessarily the biggest compliment. But then I say, oh, do you know people are emotionally intelligent? I say, oh, that's great. You think of a whole different thing. So we coach people for emotional intelligence. I'm talking about coaching people for spiritual intelligence. If I could talk dirty for a moment, no, I mean nerdy. In my doctoral research, I did a study with 42 CEOs and 210 members of their staff. And I applied spiritual intelligence, emotional intelligence, and personality, which we know personality characteristics like conscientiousness, extroversion contribute to leadership. We also knew there's a lot of research that says emotional intelligence contributes to leadership. So whenever you're bringing something new, you want to know, is it adding anything? It's like you need the placebo effect. So I looked at emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence, personality. And what I found is that emotional intelligence explained 41% of the variance of the outcome of their effectiveness as leaders. Spiritual intelligence explained 46%, which is slightly higher. But together, they explain 67% of the outcome, which means that they have a small overlap and correlation, but they each make a unique contribution and they are synergistic. So my point is, what I'm proposing is that companies develop coaching programs to become spiritually intelligent leaders.
Right.
And there are companies that are doing that. I can't name them publicly at the moment, but there are, like you said, if they have a nutritionist, some of them have yoga programs,
Right.
meditation programs. They have, food at lunch. They provide all the stuff that they think will make their employees more engaged, happier, and more connected. And we know we have a loneliness epidemic. And for most people, work is their primary community. We spend 40 hours, however many, the bulk of our waking hours with people at work. And when we have a sense of shared alignment and purpose and mutuality of care, absenteeism goes down, productivity goes up, people feel happier, they take that energy back home and it ripples out throughout their lives. So yes, I don't think companies need a therapist, although some companies offer mental health benefits to
Right.
their employees too,
Right.
which is not a bad idea. But I'm just saying we're talking about spiritually intelligent leadership.
Yeah, I got
And
you. But let me jump in real fast. You're
please.
gonna hate me for this, but I just want to make sure we've got a good working definition because you're using the word spiritual intelligence and emotional intelligence. Uh, I'm a pretty intelligent guy. I think I've got the difference, but and this isn't going to be easy for you. I want in about a sentence and a half. Give me the definition for spiritual and then emotional. If you can
Okay, well,
shorten
can
it
I
up,
do it in the other order?
of course. Yes,
Well,
you are allowed. Yes.
I am. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're so generous. So, emotional intelligence is this is a classical definition, is the ability to draw on emotional resources and information to help manage emotions in ourselves and others.
Okay.
Okay, so far so good.
Yep.
Emotional resources. Spiritual intelligence, by analogy, is the ability to draw on spiritual resources and qualities to embody them in daily life to enhance functioning and well-being. Okay, so what are these spiritual qualities? These are the virtues that have been universal for thousands of years throughout the world's traditions: purpose, service, trust, gratitude, forgiveness, compassion, humility, integrity, presence. So these qualities came through my research interviewing 71 spiritual leaders across all the world's traditions, from Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, shamanism, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and so on. Regardless of their theology and cosmology, they've talked about cultivating these qualities. So these are the qualities of spiritual intelligence. They say, well, why do you call them spiritual intelligence? Because they are common to all the spiritual traditions, number one. Two, when I connect to my life force energy, my spirit, these qualities naturally emerge. Now, the good news So far good about the definition?
Well, I'm pretty. I'm giving you a B only because your
It
one and a
took
half
more than a
sentence rule went
sentence and
right
a
out the
half.
window. But I'm no trouble
Well,
following
that
you.
go back to the first sentence is
Yeah,
the ability to draw on spiritual resources and qualities and embody them in daily life. That's
perfect.
it.
Good, good,
The
good.
rest was just an elaboration on that.
I understand. We got entrepreneurs and salespeople big in the audience here, and I'm speaking for the salespeople right now. They deal in sentence to two sentence explanations because that's how they work with their clients. So their
Okay.
brains are, and I've got one of those brains.
I
So
like it.
I mean, my brain likes simple definitions, and then I work off that definition. So I like it. And it's not that I'm shocked by it. It's just that sometimes we're pretty sure what a definition is, but the further we go down that rabbit hole, the more lost we can become. So I just wanted to make sure we were lined up on that. Okay,
Thank you. Thank you.
gotcha.
That's helpful.
Okay, now uh, I'm often told that to inspire those I'm leading, I've got to be inspirational. Okay, uh, but how do we inspire? I'm trying to figure out. Now that I've got the message. I'm a leader. I've just figured, as long as I'm inspired, being inspirational, I don't have to be inspired myself. But I'm hearing what you're saying. I guess, I remember I was in Egypt, used to do a lot of training in Egypt, and they used to say sometimes I had a yellow smile. My teeth were plenty white, but they knew I was smiling, but I wasn't really smiling. And
Uh-huh.
they saw right to it. They said, that's a yellow smile. That's not exactly a sincere smile. I'm worried about those that think they can inspire without being inspired themselves. I think that they may think they're getting away with, perhaps the team isn't. So, what would you say to a leader that might be separated and saying, as long as I'm saying inspirational things, doesn't that make me an inspiring leader?
Well, I think you're hitting the key point, which is you could fake it for a little while, but I think long-term people are going to feel into your energy and into really uh, who and what you are. But more significantly than that, you're disempowering yourself when you do that move.
Mm.
Let me be clear. When I ask my clients always, do you want to be inspirational leader or inspired leader? And they're looking at me puzzled, like, what's the difference? And it's like, okay, how can you tell if you're an inspirational leader? Where do you have to look? You have to look outside on your effect on other people. So I've already given away my power. To decide that I am inspirational, I have to study how am I affecting you? And I have to start now contorting myself. I become a politician. I gotta get try and fit into what you find inspirational. So I lose my authentic self. And then I have someone else on my team. They are inspired by maybe different things. So now I'm like, oh, what does Joe want? And versus what Rob and what does Paula need? So now I'm a chameleon. And I'm always focusing on what others want me to be, as opposed to who am I in my authentic self, in where my true power lies. Because if I look for my power in how it affects you, I've already given away my power. So
Yeah.
am I making sense?
Yeah, you are. I'll tell you what you're bringing up in me. Have you ever heard of the four levels of conscious behavior that people have? I'll give you the first one, and it may trigger the other three. The first level being an unconscious incompetent or a
Yeah.
conscious incompetent. And I think and you tell me if I've got this right. I think sometimes we're looking at leaders that might very well be unconsciously competent, but because they're not aware of it, they can't necessarily tap into it. Okay.
Uh-huh.
It's almost a natural skill until it isn't. And maybe they have a more difficult person they're leading or a more difficult team. Now, what works naturally all of a sudden when they have to draw on a skill, they don't have it. So and I'll be quiet on this, but the
Yeah.
last step, the step right before is called conscious competency, where we're competent, but we're thinking about it a lot. And it's frustrating. And yet I don't know how to get to unconscious competency without, first going through the discomfort of thinking about what I'm doing, maybe a little too much, but trying to get it right so then I can just repeat the behavior until it becomes unconscious.
Yeah, it
That's what
becomes
I'm
a
processing.
habit. So you're building
Right,
habits.
right.
Exactly. So, like I taught, one of the things I early on suggest is you practice gratitude and then share
Hmm.
appreciation. It might not be natural for many of us
Yes,
because our brains have what neuroscientists call the negativity bias. So we focus on the negative to help us survive, but it makes us miserable. So we have to reverse that and lay down new neural pathways. So we practice gratitude every day. We do that for a month, and then it's like brushing our teeth. Like I'm in the habit of brushing my
right.
teeth, and then I can move to the next competency or quality of, say, presence. Another important thing is presence, like giving someone and the moment my full attention and being clear in my intention. So, because so many of us are bombarded by, text messages, whatever, we're thinking about the fight we had with a friend yesterday. We're thinking about our plans for tomorrow or vacation this next weekend. But here we are with a customer, with a prospect, with an employee, with a team member, and our mind is not there and people feel it. So the effectiveness of that interaction, the bandwidth, our ability to collaborate and solve problems together is hugely diminished. So cultivating presence, takes effort, takes, disciplining our mind, disciplining the muscles of our consciousness.
Yeah.
We go to the gym and we exercise. We don't just read a book about physical fitness. We don't just read a book about nutrition and we're done. We then have to change our eating habits, as your daughter, probably helps people do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we don't just say, okay, I'm done. I understand I need to be a grateful person. Okay, well, good luck to you. You have to go to the gym, practice it.
Right. Right. And be careful. I've always, do you ever do workshops on this, Yossi?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes.
So when you do a workshop, you know that I've actually sometimes I love a room with two doors because early on I'll look at a group. And remember, we're not here for 20 minutes. We're really going to try and create a cultural shift here. And I say, look, there's two doors. I could tell you most of what you already know. That's door number one. The good news is when we're done, you can walk, you'll be able to use everything we talked about. You'll be really good at it because I'm just brushing up on what you already have. Or we could go after the other door. That's a tougher door. It'll make sense, but it's going to take a little bit of ring work. We're going to have to practice it. And so it's going to not feel as authentic initially. But that's the one that we want to aspire to go through. But I think sometimes you have to explain to people because they don't like that conscious competency stage. They don't want to feel like they're thinking about it too much. And so I think from one trainer to another, that's something I try and speak about before I go into the process moves, because I know I'm not messing around here today. I'm going to teach you more than you think you're going to learn, and you're not going to be perfect when we're finished.
Yeah, that's great. I'm learning. I'm learning right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, all right. One last step on the 4 levels of conscious behavior. There is a 5th level, I claim, and the 5th level is who made this levels? It actually is a cycle. So even when you're an unconscious
Spiral.
competent, yeah. So now you taught me a year ago, and guess what? It took me 4 months, Yossi, but I'm perfect at it. You watch me and you go, hey, guy's perfect. Well, that doesn't mean 2 years from now I'm going to be perfect. Remember, unconscious incompetency means I don't even know that I don't know. I feel like I'm doing it, and that's why it's really a cycle. We always have to keep monitoring what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, how good can you be as a piano player or as a violin player?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
you could practice a little bit and, produce a song that's kind of sounds like the melody, which I can't even do that. But I mean, but then you got the concert pianists and you got the real maestros and,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah. My nutritionist daughter, good piano player too. I think the two work together.
that's
We
awesome.
won't boast about her anymore. How about some case studies? I always like kind of going in and just looking at maybe some companies where this has worked for. For instance, one of my companies is Toyota. Been a client of mine for 20 years. I'm thrilled with what they've been able to accomplish. Very proud of their achievements, and they're doing quite well. Maybe a couple case studies from your end, just of some situations and areas where maybe you got in there and really were able to affect some change.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll talk about one case study, the client that I just had, at 11 to 12 today before my lunch, and then I grabbed a quick bite and now I'm feasting with you. But anyway, so for that client, I'll call him Ted just to keep his privacy. And so when I started working with him a number of years ago, his company had raised tens of millions of dollars. They were a high flyer in Silicon Valley, but weren't meeting their projections. And the venture capitalists, the board was really pressuring him. He had to do a bunch of layoffs. He was depressed. He felt disappointed. He let down his employees. He let down his investors. So he was getting depressed and his mood was down. And so it's hard to inspire. It's hard to be the CEO when you're depressed. So the first thing was to elevate his mood. So I recommended he start a gratitude practice, just like I talked to you about here. And
Right.
he did that and shared appreciation. The other thing we did is we we did a visioning exercise. One of the capacities of spiritually intelligent leadership is vision. And we often think about vision in terms of the product or the market, but I asked him to just have a vision of where he wanted to be in his mood and where he wanted his company to be 12 months in their plan. And then vision that he's coming to a board meeting where he's given them the news that they've met this plan, etc. So as he envisioned that for himself, he laid down the neural pathways in his brain to make it believable that he can do that. And then he translated that and worked at multiple levels through his team and an organization where everybody got aligned behind where the company was going to be 12 months from now. And then 12 months from now, lo and behold, that vision was realized. So there's just a couple of competencies around
Right.
gratitude and vision. The other thing we worked on was presence. And he was distracted. He had two teenage kids. He would come to home and was swamped thinking about all the problems at work. But as we practice this quality of presence, he started transforming how he showed up at home and in meetings with his staff. And part of also the visioning, I talked about 1 year, he started visioning, which is a technique a lot of salespeople do. You go into a meeting, you visualize that you're going to get the order, and you visualize success. And then you ask yourself, how can I align myself energetically with that? So he started applying that visioning idea with smaller meetings and having clarity of intention, which brought his presence level much higher, and he was a lot more intentional. So, I mean, I can go on, but
Well,
ultimately, over several years, I mean, the company turned around and, it ultimately went public. So but the point was after a number of years, people told him, "Oh, you seem like a new person." Because all these qualities of presence and gratitude and intention and training our attention permeates your life. So it's not just about being a better business person, a better leader at work. It's just being a better human being, that your relationships with your family and your kids are transformed. And to me, that's, you know, greatly fulfilling and
that's why we
exciting.
do what we do, Yossi. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, I'm all about implementation. I don't know if I was about it my first 10, 15 years in the business, but really, and I'm speaking to you again, as a workshop guy. Uh, I can entertain you and I can make you feel good and I can motivate you and inspire you. And my dad was always famous for introducing me to his friends as this is my motivational speaker son. Felt like he was introducing Chris Farley, a skinnier one. But and I almost it was
But a
almost like
better looking one.
well, maybe, but I it was insulting to me because I never wanted to be that guy. I want to be a person that does what you just described, which is affect change that's lasting. That's where guys like you and me kind of lean back and fold our arms and go, "I did good there. That's what I like." So let's talk. Let's land there for a second. In terms of implementation. I believe you write about this in your book. Some daily habits or practices. How do once we've read the book, maybe we even hook up with you in terms of on a consulting agreement. But once we've got this, how do we hold on to it?
How we develop it, deepen it, and build a habit. Yeah. So
Yeah,
you're
it's a habit, but I am fearful of that unconscious incompetency, of sliding away from unconscious competency. So how do we protect it? How do we make sure that we stay
Well,
with it?
it's the habit and the practice. So I still practice gratitude every day.
Hmm.
When I wake up and when I go to sleep, I still meditate every day. It's not like I've trained the muscle of my attention and I'm done. It's not like, oh, I've gone to the gym, I build my body, I'm in good shape. I can stop doing that. Oh, it's not like I lost weight, I can go back to my shitty diet. I mean, I stay on the good diet to stay in good health. So, but you're hitting the nail on the head. You don't just read my book and say, oh, okay, well, this makes sense, and now you're a spiritually intelligent leader. So the book has these case studies for each quality. Explain, tell a story about how that quality was missing, and when it got developed and cultivated, it was the antidote to the problem the leader was facing. And then there are exercises for each of these qualities to help develop it. So it's an ongoing practice. How you don't slip back is by staying intentional and continuing to watch your diet and continue to exercise physically. And there's no reason you don't do the same for your mind and your spirit. And
If,
so
if
they
okay, if I get that book, can I go to your website for support? I mean, how do I'm again, people will read my book and I didn't write it to waste their time, but there's a part of me that says, you're probably going to need my help with that. But this is going to open the door to you and provide you with some good ideas. But sometimes I need to be there too. So can I go to your website? I mean, how do we get
Yeah,
the
well,
best
I
bang
have
for the
many
buck here?
resources to follow up.
Hmm.
One is there's the book mentions, and there's a free assessment on this website, Intelligency, where you could get the profile of your spiritual intelligence and your strengths and your areas for potential development with practice tips. So that goes in there. There's also certified coaches that I've certified that can work with people. I also host free monthly events. On each month is a different quality. Then this month is going to be on integrity, living with alignment, integrity with the truth. Because one of the key things that people look for in their leaders is integrity, that we walk the talk, and so on. So we have to be able to discern the truth, and our bodies have a great built-in truth meter if we just know how to listen to it. So we have the inner GPS, but most of us are so much in our head and we're disconnected from the wisdom of our body, which has evolved over millions of years. So, there are exercises in the book, but in this free event that I'm hosting later this month, we'll be practicing. I'll talk about, and people will have breakout groups where they get to practice discerning their inner truth and how to get aligned with it so that you could be in integrity. Because when we're integrity, we're aligned, our whole energy and life force is is behind it. We're not fragmented. It's not like one part of us wants to go this way, another part of us goes this way, and then we're wobbly and we're divided. Our force is divided. So this brings us into integrity, into wholeness, into alignment, which makes us more powerful. But we have to learn to listen to our truth and know how to align with it.
Good.
So, but that's I'm just kind of going into a bit of a sales pitch. But the point is I have these monthly events that I host. Each month is on a different quality. The last one was about joy. So,
Right.
how to become radiantly joyful. Because we
Right.
know that when you're joyful and you're having fun at work, people are more creative and
Yeah.
more energized
Yep,
and
yep.
stuff.
All right. Well, first of all, never be ashamed of giving a sales pitch on this show because if you're talking to salespeople, they'll be disappointed with you if you don't. Okay.
Okay,
That's
good.
number one. Number two, I want to put a topic up there for you on one of yours. I want you to do one on hope. I really think that hope is something that is, I just think it's the fundamental building block that people overlook. And they want to get to many other things, but without hope, I don't think you can build that house.
I hope I will offer that, but I'm gonna trust that actually there's something deeper. Hope is super important. I think underneath hope is trust.
Okay.
And when you trust yourself, you trust in life, you trust in the universe, then yeah, because if you don't believe that the future that you're envisioning and wanting is possible, then you're not gonna go for it.
Yeah.
But you also have to have trust that even if the outcome doesn't come the way I envision it, I trust that something good will come out of it. So trust in a way is deeper than hope and more encompassing. And there's trust in oneself, there's trusting other people on my team, there's trusting life, trusting the universe.
Got it.
And when we have that trust, then we can take risks and are
Right.
empowered.
And again, we're lined up because that's the first block in sales. I can talk about urgency, objection handling, how to do your opening. If you don't trust me, nothing else matters in this conversation.
Exactly.
So it
So the
all
key
starts
job
there.
of sales is
Right.
building rapport, building trust.
Right. And Yossi, is strange as this sounds, there's so many, remember me, a Mr. Process guy, love processes. You can process just about any move. It's very challenging to find a process for trust. It's more, I mean, you can't do these four things and Yossi will now trust you. Doesn't quite work that way. And so it's a tougher topic, but I can't think of a more important one. So really, I'm glad you airbrushed that a little bit. Spiritually intelligent leadership. How to inspire by being inspired. Hope you were inspired in today's show. I know I was. And Yossi, you did. We very transparent. Yossi said, "Give me a signal if I talk too much," and I said, "Don't worry about it." You were perfect. I think that your topic is not one that is answered with two words. It's very cerebral, and I just think you did a wonderful job. Really, I've enjoyed the conversation. Now, go over again how people get in touch with you.
Well, I have a website, yossiamram.net.
Spell that out, just in case people don't know that name.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good idea. Yossi is YOSI, Amram, AMRAM.net. But, if you're driving and you can't remember, just remember awakeningsi.org. SI for spiritual intelligence. So awakening, hopefully you can remember that, know how to spell it. SI, the acronym for spiritual intelligence. .org. It's a nonprofit that hosts these events. There's also a YouTube channel. You can watch some of my silly videos at Awakening Spiritual Intelligence, all one word. Okay. So that's hopefully easier to remember than.
Oh, I'm glad you gave us that easier way to remember. I'm on the other side here laughing, almost falling out of my chair on how much easier the second one was than the first one. Just put Yossi, Spiritual Intelligence. You'll be fine. And check that book out. And remember, our rule is you get a book, you write a review. It means a lot to the author, and it means something to Amazon as well. So Spiritually Intelligent Leadership, how to inspire by being inspired. You know how to get a hold of them. You got a good look under the hood here. I'm both my emotional and spiritual intelligence are overwhelmed right now, but I truly enjoyed chatting with you today. I'm glad to have met you and thrilled you had time to be on the show. Thank you.
Thank you. Delightful to be with you.
Thanks. Well, we'll do it again as well as we can next time, everybody. Until then, stay safe.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please rate and recommend it on iTunes, Outcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more information on this show and Rob at jollis.com.